Hey, we finally have reached the conclusion of ELRC 7525, professional development for K through 12 and educational technology. And I'm very thrilled to be able to share my final professional development website for the conclusion of our course. And I've used this Google site throughout the duration of my time in the program. And I think the shell will continue to be built out for curating resources and updating various modules on my website and things of that nature. So I'm looking forward to continuing to expand and build this even as we move forward. I'll go ahead and get into it. So this is my homepage here. And the homepage is just basically an overview of DeSoto Parish's values and strategic vision when it comes to technology implementation and integration. And here to the left, you see I just did a little video short introducing the viewers to my Google site. And then it just kind of talks through some of the navigation pages and things of that nature. So that's just that basic overview there of the homepage. And then moving into collaborative professional development. I really enjoyed doing the review of other professional development programs and practices that stemmed from those ISTE learning sessions. It really brought some things into perspective as far as Google Learning and the learning initiative that I've envisioned for DeSoto educators. So I'll go ahead and go over to my tilt table. Okay, so my tilt table aligns with my vision for the Google Learning Initiative, and this actually translates over from my evaluation plan that I put together in Dr. Monroe's course. And so this is all, you'll see some interweaving here and a little bit of overlap into that. But each phases of tilt directly relate to the Google Suite for Education. So I'll go ahead and click over to phase one of tilt and how that would be integrated into DeSoto's Google Learning Initiative. So in phase one, as designed by the ISTE standards, align for DeSoto's goal for virtual learning clusters and instructional design practices. All DeSoto teachers and administrators would participate in these learning clusters to explore, cultivate, and strategize instructional practices for virtual learning design. And that would specifically be aligned to a Google framework. And then also allowing for more collaboration to implement pedagogical strategy using various modalities of virtual learning, all while building the K through 12 teacher up to proficiency in the Google Suite for Education. Okay, so moving over into phase two of Tilt in Google. So this focuses on certification. So first phase would be with new employees that are onboarded on to DeSoto's school system would participate in cohort groups and engage in synchronous and asynchronous learning modules to prepare for Google Level 1 certification. So that's the initial phase that we want to make sure our teachers have the opportunity to get certified so they feel that confidence and comfort level in using these tools in their classroom. And then those who are already earned that first level certification would engage with advanced coursework to work towards level 2 certification. And then from level 2 up to Google Trainer. So it's kind of going in steps. And then finally, all employees of DeSoto Parish would participate in virtual learning clusters. That's going kind of, again, connecting back to phase one, particularly using the SAMR model with designing synchronous and asynchronous learning. And then at the conclusion of the course, teachers would build up a Google site portfolio that documented these artifacts that they have designed for their specific content areas. Okay, and let's go over to phase three of Tilt and Google. This kind of all brings it all together. It brings the full vision and the goals together. Reach 100% of Google Level 1 certification for DeSoto teachers, at least 75% reaching Level 2 certification. And then Google trainers, certified trainers would provide a mentoring model for experiential learning experiences. Leading into creating and sustaining blended learning environments using the modalities of virtual learning, all while being aligned to the ISTE standards for educators and students. So that was my review of Tilt. And we'll go back and look at my review of some other professional development plans. I really enjoyed this particular exercise. It put a lot of ideas into perspective as far as the models and modes of professional learning. And it's made me really think about how this could be applicable to teachers in our district and meeting their needs. And so I think this could be a form of, as you know, kind of taking a survey of an assessment of kind of what kind of professional developments that teachers would want to see happen in the district. I thought the Disney PD was really awesome. The storytelling method and idea, I'm really thinking about how that could be used in e-portfolios with using Google. The other one was the vlogs. I've never thought about vlogging before, and after I read through and researched some of this stuff from ISTE, it really got me thinking about how I could apply it for DeSoto Parish's model of PD. So I want to share that with you. These are some ideas that I came up with vlogging, just because it's something I want to try, and I've never really thought about it before as actually how I could apply this to collaborative learning. So a couple things would be like Google Tech Talks, Google hacks and how-tos. Teachers are always looking for quick hacks on how to implement certain shortcuts and things using technology into their instruction. Using it for teaching reflections with the Google Suite for Education, and then professional development spotlights. All of this would be ideally transformed into like a YouTube channel where DeSoto teachers can access it at any time. And then kind of going along with vlogging, I know it's not exactly the same concept, but like podcasting as well, like creating podcasts. I know in one of Dr. Monroe's courses, we did a module on podcast, and it was my first time ever making a podcast and kind of curating it for specific content. I think that's another great fresh perspective on how to share collaborative learning with colleagues. So that's awesome. And then the last thing, I want to walk you through DeSoto Parish's badging system with Google. This PD that we were asked to look at with the Amazing Race PD talked about gamification and making like the professional learning environment kind of competitive. Well, it's kind of the same concept with Digital DeSoto's badging program. There's different levels of implementation from bronze, silver, gold, and then to platinum. So basically with this, once campuses hit a certain percentage of Google Level 1 certified educators and Level 2, they would get these incentives. So like things like so much budget per student for technology accessories, technology teams attending ed tech conferences one time a year, and then additional devices on campus like virtual reality headsets, swivels, augmented reality, 3D printers, makerspace equipment. We're not quite yet to that stage yet. Still thinking about our 5-year plan. Hopefully we get there soon. But these are just some of the things here. And then another interesting one would be 3 site-based tech PDs per year, kind of again taking the teachers' ideas and requests into consideration. So that's our badging system for DeSoto that we have come up with. Okay, great. So um, Dr. H, thank you so much for sharing this Padlet of shared classroom resources. I've really enjoyed Padlet, and I've gotten to use it more so in this class. I did start using it at the beginning of the year when I was thinking about remote learning with my students and how I would incorporate that into synchronous and asynchronous learning. But I love this as a curation tool too, because I could really see, we've used Digo before, but I really like this because it's visible. Everything's really nice and organized, and you can incorporate different media files and links. So I've really enjoyed using Padlet with this course. And then some of the things that I've loved on this Padlet that I've used myself, one thing being Desiree Alexander. She is actually our consultant for DeSoto Parish, and she delivers on-site PDs every so often. Every year, I'm actually about to attend a Google Trainer PD to work towards certification for Google Trainer, and she's going to be delivering that to our level 2 educators in DeSoto. So that website, her website is amazing. I really love the layout of it, and I like how she's organized it by various topics. Um, so if you going into presentations, looking at the different tech tools for Google, and then looking at categories for teaching, for virtual learning, distance learning, leadership, personalized PD, which I think is really good. I think Desiree does a great job of trying to personalize and offer those types of options to school districts, and then actually preparing teachers for certification. So she has these courses, and then she actually, with I think over here on the Google side, there's actually some sections for certifications for level 1 and level 2. So a lot of good stuff here. I see a lot of stuff with like blended and flipped learning. Really thinking about those concepts. I've done a couple of projects on flipped learning this year. So again, all great resources. Things are very accessible. So we'll click off her site, and then other things that I looked at were, of course, the ISTE, uh, some of the um, some of the literature from ISTE and Future Ready Schools. Really thinking about the implementation and delivery of professional development. I think this is an area that I need to grow in and become more knowledgeable in. I think, of course, it's going to be a process, and the courses that I've taken in the program have really have given me a lot of knowledge in that area. But I think continuing to study. Looking at different case studies with different districts, that gives a good model of strategic delivery of professional development. And then anything Google, I try to curate what's relevant and what's trending with the use of the Google Suite. So all great stuff here. Really, really excited that we all have access to this and can share it. All right, so moving down the line, we're looking at our resources that we've curated. So I've created a couple of assessment surveys in the past year or so with Google, and especially as it relates to DeSoto's needs. And these were the 3 areas that I focused on. First one being skill and proficiency level. The second one about how educators feel on delivering virtual instruction. And then 3 were the needs and resources for virtual design. So this assessment survey just basically covers some of the main bases. And surveying is something I learned in our research and methods class that I took during summer one or summer two. So I actually had to learn how to design these surveys as part of our culminating project for that research course. So I mean, basically covers the bases: school site, role, years teaching, all this good stuff. So I'll just click through it for a minute. So yeah, content area, years teaching, levels of certification, role, grade level, and then asking some general questions about Google for Google Apps. So it's basically kind of that basic base level assessment. And I would probably, how I could see this, I would probably give this, deliver this at the end or at the beginning of a PD session, or do it like, every so often, maybe before the end of a term or something, to kind of take an evaluation of the technology assessments that are happening in the district. So, things to think about, and this definitely would go with part of that evaluation process as well. And then another thing I really enjoyed with our learning during this course was SAMR. SAMR is something that our instructional leadership team in DeSoto has talked about using. And this summer, when I participated in the virtual cluster series over the month of July, we really looked at instances of SAMR and TPAC. And this is kind of going with the modalities of virtual learning, focused in on digital portfolios. So if we look here, this kind of gives you the graphic of the purpose, the process, the learning goals and process of a digital portfolio, and it goes through those stages of implementation there. And then I go into the model for SAMR using Google, and this gives you some examples of each of the categories here on this graphic. And then I just give a few examples of each stage. So for substitution, things like, using Google Draw for digital illustrations, Google Docs, using screencast recording for using ScreenCastify, and then using Google Drive as a way to save student work. Augmenting would be like using the comments features in Docs or Classroom to give feedback. Google Slides is basically making custom presentations and then adding in images and multimedia. And then like students can use YouTube to make collaboratively use Google Keep to keep brainstorming. So then modification kind of evolves there. One example would be teachers using Google Slides to make virtual classrooms and using Bitmoji apps and images, embedding links to blogs, wikis, and sites. And then redefinition would be actually that portfolio. And then it gives you some examples of how portfolios can be used here. And then this all ties back again to that idea of the modalities of learning, virtual learning with synchronous and asynchronous. So time, tools, and teams. And then here are some of the goals that are outlined here for bringing that concept all together. And then the last part of this, I just give a brief little overview of how to use the 6 modalities of virtual learning in an English classroom. Okay, so that was my SAMR plan. And then going back to Padlet, this is the Padlet I created for the curation of my professional development resources. As you know, I really love Nearpod. I use it every day in my classroom, and I've created professional development resources for DeSoto's support library with Nearpod. So I've included that here on my list. And then also put a my Google YouTube channel for Google tutorials. And then I incorporated some stuff from ISTE on remote learning. I included my screencasts again for the modalities of virtual learning. I found an awesome webinar for the Google Infused Classroom, included Desiree Alexander's site. But one of the big things that really add value to this Padlet is this NIET rubric companion for virtual instruction. Before the pandemic started, classroom teachers didn't have those baseline standards or guidelines to go through with designing virtual instruction. And the TAP rubric, NIET and TAP are part of our teacher effectiveness model in DeSoto. And so during the summer, they released this rubric companion. I'll click on it. And so this basically gives some descriptions into how to use this tool for asynchronous and synchronous learning. And then you have the indicators with the performance descriptors. And then in the middle, you see the virtual learning strategies that go with each of these indicators. I use this on a daily basis, thinking about how I design my coursework for my students in Google Classroom. We constantly refer to this during our content clusters every week. So this is kind of like the technology go-to guide for us right now, and well, matched with methods for guidance for how instruction should look. But this is your go-to guide for virtual design too. So NIET has actually partnered with the Louisiana Department of Education, is offering free workshops and webinars on this material. So, and I'll get to that here in a second because I've actually included it in my newsletter. But this was probably one of the most important resources that I wanted to make sure that I included on my Padlet. So I'll go back to my Padlet real quick. Okay. And so again, here I'm going to continue to build this out. I'll continue adding to it. I'll probably expand the Padlet. And this will constantly be adjusted as either as I'm going to, ed tech conferences or professional development workshops, or even if I facilitate professional development myself, I'll continue to use this as a curation tool. Very, very valuable. I'm so glad that I've learned about it this year. And we move over to newsletters. And my newsletter was designed using Canva for Education. And I'm really pleased with how the design of this turned out. I've kind of looked at the color schemes and tried to think of how it would fit DeSoto's branding and Google branding as well. And I really liked how my design turned out. And I named it Digital DeSoto Downloads. So basically here I've included some things on Google certifications and some links for some resources. And then I included this snippet about the free virtual instruction workshops with the Department of Education and NIET. So, and with this, I actually included some links to some videos that you can click on these links and you can actually go to the video modules on instruction, environment, and planning for virtual instruction. So really good resource there. And then I wanted to make sure I included some things Google related because that's my bread and butter. This is what I want to become expert in. So I want to try to keep up with the latest trends and collaboration stories that are put out there on blogs or other ed tech websites. So one of them was using Google Slides and choice boards. I actually took a course this summer with Casey Bell and Shake Up Learning. It was a master slides class, and she went through a module of how to create a choice board using Google Slides. And then the main forms resources for templates was through Slides Mania, very, very good resource for designing interactive and creative Google slide decks. Digital notebooks, I'm using those every day in my high school English classes. They're lifesavers. Um, Really, really quick way for me to do a formative assessment on my students, because I can basically make a master copy of this digital notebook. I can add content and learning tasks to it, and then they can update it from on their end by themselves with the learning tasks that I give them. And so I included a little link tutorial here that shows you how to do that with Google Slides. Very, very awesome. I've always wanted to try interactive notebooks, and I finally feel like the tools and the platform we have now that I can actually do it successfully. So really, really, really awesome thing to integrate into instruction. And then, of course, Nearpod. Big advocate for Nearpod. This includes how to integrate Google Slides with Nearpod, and I give a how-to video on that. And then the big talk on our campus lately has been student engagement. And so I felt like I needed to include some literature on student engagement. And I found this Edutopia blog with the link there that you can click to the article, the opinion piece on improving student engagement. So this is the first issue of Digital DeSoto Downloads. My superintendent has had a preview of this newsletter, and hopefully it's something that he would want to distribute to our employees. I don't know, maybe on a monthly basis. It would be an awesome thing to do. Okay. And finally, we've come to the conclusion of this and go into our professional development plan. So my whole professional development has been centered on Google Learning, and I've created a whole course. This is one module of several modules, and I used an ADDIE template, an ADDIE model, a professional development course template to outline this for my vision for my professional development course for DeSoto. And so for one module, I wanted to focus on synchronous and asynchronous learning using Nearpod for beginners. And I'll walk you through this and show you how this would be outlined. Okay, so you have a course description here. It kind of gives an overview of how instructional technology leaders would use this to deliver professional development. All the materials and the learning courses and all the instructional design processes will support tech facilitators to deliver this to teachers. These are some technology and tools. We use Google Classroom as our main learning hub for learning activities. Some of the tools we would need would definitely be a Chromebook, because we're a one-to-one district. Google Chrome extensions like Nearpod, Cami, Dualist, Read and Write, Screencastify. The creation of a Nearpod user account. Now, DeSoto has purchased full district user licenses for teachers who use Nearpod regularly in their classrooms. But if you just sign up for the free version, you don't have access to all the tools and the features. And that includes using Google Slide, the Google Slide add-on extension to create Nearpods from Google Slides. So you would have to have the full version to do that. And then Google Drive and the Google Suite of tools. I brought in the ISTE standards for learner, collaborator, designer. And then my audience, of course, would be pre-service and novice K through 12 educators who are preparing to deliver virtual instruction. Most participants would not have advanced knowledge of virtual learning modalities. The course is intended for those who are strategizing to integrate technology into a collaborative, personalized, authentic learning assessment. Some of the challenges may be bridging the gap between pedagogy and technology integration. Okay, so this would be a basic foundational course. Okay, so here's my Nearpod module. Some of the objectives: apply various instructional methods to synchronous and asynchronous learning, understand how to navigate the Nearpod platform, demonstrate how to search, launch, share, and create Nearpod lessons, identify and interpret custom reports, and constructing your own Nearpod using Google Slides add-on extension. So the basis of this module would be in Nearpod itself. Educators can get in there and be interactive with it, with the learning of how to use this tool. Couldn't break anything, so they could get in there and click around and do a bunch of learning of how the assessment tools work. The outcomes: participating educators should understand how to apply Nearpod assessments in synchronous and asynchronous learning. They should be able to set attainable and realistic norms and expectations. And then educators should know how to design engaging Nearpod lessons in their content area using the Nearpod tools and assessment features. This is my module assessment, and this is my outline. I've planned this out to be about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Again, we would use Nearpod as the platform to facilitate the learning for the professional development. And then I kind of give an overview. So a welcome, in the middle, a Nearpod platform overview and Nearpod activities that they can engage with during the professional development, Nearpod's assessments and reports overview, and then a break. And then the second part would be actually going into learning how to create a Nearpod. Small group lesson brainstorming by content area, creating lessons and integrating assessment activities. So they would actually practice making their own lesson or building out a sample lesson. And then some of the features like importing files, using Google Slides to create custom lessons, a conclusion, and then finally an evaluation. And then this holistic rubric would be used to evaluate the learning. Let me click on it, show you the rubric. Okay, so this is a rubric. It goes from unsatisfactory to advanced, and it gives you a description of success criteria there. And then some instructional methods, things like polls, media files, open-ended questions, collaboration boards, Google Meet breakout rooms by content area, synchronous and asynchronous presentation options. So they don't necessarily have to be in the session in person to do the learning. They can go and look at the recording and go through it themselves. And then here's some materials. These are the codes and the links for the synchronous presentations. And then go back. Sorry about that. Okay, and then codes and links for asynchronous. Here's a handout extension. I created this for a handout tutorial. I created this for DeSoto Parish. And then here's a tutorial video that I created as well. Hi, parents and students. My name is Mr. Peyton Dufour, and I teach English. You can find it in your search results, Hamlet, and upload it up the Nearpod extension. And you do not need to work the enter code. So I'm going to go. So those are some brief snippets of my tutorial video. And then thinking about planning ahead, this would be determined by a district PD calendar. It would be facilitated at the Media Center, list the technologies needed, and then the different participant groups by grade level. And then the facilitators would be Google trainers per grade level that would facilitate the training. And then the final evaluation would take place from our participants at the end, where they click on the Google form. So that is a basic. I mean, that is my professional development website and my teacher education center. I'm really thrilled with how far this has come over the last year. And I'm really looking forward to how I can continue to build this and gather ideas and collaborate with others in the field of ed tech on how I can just make this evolve. Like, I've learned so much over the course of just the last few semesters as far as thinking about social media platforms and building different networks and all the things that go into really what ed tech is supposed to be about is just, um, curation of resources and sharing resources and learning about frameworks and all this stuff that brings it all together into one cohesive vision. So I think that's what really tech leadership's about, is making sure you put your ideas down and make them realize to where you have a clear plan. And I think, using Addy has made me think about how I would carefully and strategically plan and deliver professional development. So we'll see what happens. I think this is starting out on a good track. I'm really pleased with it. I'm curious to see what my school leadership does with the things that I bring back to the table and offer to them. Some of these things I have shared with them already. So hopefully we'll see some good outcomes that come from this, and help some more teachers become more confident in delivering virtual learning in their classrooms. And down at the bottom of the site, of course, I continue to update my Twitter feed for EdTech at P24Tech03, and then my blog, Empowered EdTech Teacher. I'm going to go back in and try to update those two platforms with some of the resources that we've developed and curated during this course. So I'll make sure I do that. But it's been an absolute pleasure learning the last 7 weeks in this course, and it's been valuable. The collaboration and the friendships that I've developed. Can't believe it's the last part of my journey here in the program, going into my last course, my practicum course. So I'm hoping that I can build a solid portfolio with all of the learning projects that I've put together so far. So thank you so much, and until next time.